Hello there, welcome to saberduelgaming, where we always take the high ground. Now, you can forget Alien vs Predator, throw aside Godzilla vs Kong, and trash Terminator vs Robocop, because way before any of these were going head to head for our entertainment, two massive global icons, Donkey Kong and Super Mario, were stepping out against each other. But way before they were taking to the field as national icons, they'd already come face to face once before, and that was in Donkey Kong. The first game for both of these released into the arcades in 1981 and then onto the NES in 1983. This is Donkey Kong, a retro review. Now, let's be clear, we are reviewing the Nintendo Entertainment System version of this game, but we are still going to make a couple of nods and references to the arcade classic. And it's important to know just how many firsts come with this game. This is one of the first ever platform games. How close to the beginning? Well, put it this way, the term platform game didn't exist. It wasn't called a platform game because that concept wasn't out there. That's how early in the stage and perhaps integral to the formation of a platform game this is. It's also one of the very first arcade games to have an actual story that's told through the medium of what we see on the screen. In the original there was 4 levels, and after those 4 levels it just cycles around in various difficulties. It also had a number of cutscenes, believe it or not, that helped progress the story. Unfortunately, the NES port of the game was cut down to 3 levels, and most of the cutscenes were, you guessed it, cut, so we didn't really get to see that in all its glory. The other first is simple, Mario and Donkey Kong. These two characters are so iconic and synonymous with gaming now that it's almost impossible to imagine a gaming world without them, but until this game was released, that's exactly what we had. And a couple of things. First of all, yes, Mario is originally called Jumpman in this game, but it is 100% Mario, and this has been confirmed in case it wasn't obvious enough. As for the girl he's rescuing, I'm sorry, it is not the titular princess from the Mushroom Kingdom. This instead just happens to be a very similarly dressed girl called Pauline. I guess Mario has a type. That's okay. So what about the gameplay? Well, it's very simple. We have, on the NES version, our 3 levels. A variety of platforms that Mario has to work his way through, climbing up ladders, dodging fire and barrels which Donkey Kong will throw down, in order to reach Pauline, rescue her, or, on the last level, drop Donkey Kong right on his head. It's damn simple, but then it's bound to be. This is old as an arcade game. Hell, when it was released on the NES, it was already considered an arcade classic, rather than a brand new game. So, how was it reviewed at the time? Okay, this one's a bit tricky because this game actually predates a lot of the gaming magazines from back in the day. But we have found a few interesting facts, and they kinda contradict each other. First of all, it is clear that this game was Nintendo's best seller, not just on its release in 1983, but still midway through the year. That certainly speaks volumes. Apparently, it also helped repopularize the game in the arcades, so that's a massive positive. That said, the one actual review I could find from the Computer Video Games magazine specifically gave the NES version 45%, which is pretty dire. I also saw similar magazines gave the Atari 2600 rather equally scathing scores. This game may have been popular, but it would seem that the critics didn't think it was all that great. I suppose you have to remember by the time this was released in the NES, Donkey Kong 3 had been released in arcades, and games like Mario Brothers, and hell, even Dragon's Lair had been released, so it was pretty dated by the time it made its way onto the Nintendo. And what about now? Well, look, it's a classic, okay? Get that, totally. This is a nailed-on Hall of Famer, but that doesn't mean it's good. Not anymore. Don't get me wrong, it is a retro classic. It has charm. But sometimes we can be a little bit blinded with our retro goggles and see a game as being fun just because it was fun. It really isn't so much fun anymore. Don't get me wrong, it's wonderful to throw in for a few minutes and see the origins of these classic characters, but it veers between having painfully annoying controls and at times being far too simple to complete. It's not a challenge because of its complexity, it's a challenge because of the controls. Overall, Donkey Kong, it's an absolute classic, but unfortunately, I can only give it a 5 out of 10. But what do you think? Am I being too harsh? Comment below, let me know.